All right, what's good? Welcome back to the Co-Founders Podcast. It's your host here, Justin.
And host Brian.
And today we got a very, very special guest here. We got Merric here. We actually met Merric in high school. So give us a little backstory, Merric.
We go back. I'm not gonna lie. To start off, we were Rickover Naval Academy, right? So, just like most people that we know, they don't go to like military schools or whatever. They all went to public schools, which our school is still kind of public, but we had a different structure to everything we did, right? Like off rip, we were learning about being disciplined. We were learning about core values, integrity, and just like honestly just routine. I think that was one of the most important things because I noticed a lot of high school students did not wear uniform, but we did. We literally did, and we were calling each other by our last names too. So it's like it's completely different now, being in this whole different environment, having to call people by their first names, and really just like everything is just different.
All three of us were playing soccer. Like I even remember we in the first practice, I was a freshman when you were a senior.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm not gonna lie, bro. I remember we had like some kind of scrimmage game, and there was one you kick hard, bro. You kick really hard. There was one ball that hit my foot, and my foot basically like twisted, bro. Like after that I was out.
You're lying.
No, like for
You're
real.
lying.
Not for
Wait, so
real.
I did that?
Yeah. Like you kicked it. I
Wait,
think
what?
you were trying to. I don't know what you were trying to do, bro. But like
Bro, they were
I was
light.
defense. I was defense, and I tried
Okay,
blocking
so I
it,
was
of
probably
course.
shooting. Was I trying to shoot on target or something?
Yeah. Low key, that wasn't even on target, bro. I'm not gonna cap. It was like maybe you were trying to cross it, or I don't know, but I was like on right D, and like I was trying to block it, and then my foot just I was out after that. But no,
Wait,
yeah,
so
it was just
Brian, you
funny.
remember this too? Because I don't know. I don't remember this.
Nah, man. I don't know. Honestly, I feel like Justin just didn't have good placement on his legs, bro.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, that's why I'm a wrestler, bro, to be honest.
Yeah, no facts. No, you were
Bro, you're a
great at
beast, bro.
wrestling. He's a
Yeah.
fucking dog.
Yeah, I mean, when we were playing soccer, for sure, I remember you were like the top, you're the team captain. You were always in that leadership position. You always kind of had that mindset. And even then, you were also like chasing the bag. I remember you were selling in at the hip and shit. So like how was that? Like what got you into that leadership position and started selling even at a young age?
I mean, so when it comes to soccer, honestly, I've been playing since I was 4 years old. Like that was the passion. That was the dream. That's what I really wanted. Wanted to go pro. Obviously things play a role. Not playing since I was not playing in high intent clubs or high level clubs and things like that obviously became a thing. But yeah, so being in high school, yeah, you mentioned the hip. I was honestly, I don't remember how I got that job, dude. I think one time I just went to the mall and I was walking past like these booths and stuff. And these one guys, they call me up, clean their shoes, whatever. I was like, cool. But at the time, I was like, I know I'm playing soccer a lot. I needed something that's flexible and something where I can control my time, right? I didn't really know what that type of job was. Later on, obviously, it's an entrepreneurship job. You're able to control it. You're in commissions, whatever. But yeah, so I asked them and I got the job. And then, honestly, from day one, I was just selling from there. It was more like a hustler kind of thing. And then, like you mentioned, just like that mindset to always get what I wanted was the reason that made me just so good at that job. Because approaching people, talking to people, presenting myself as a person, my self image was just like one thing I really wanted to get out there. So I really loved it. It was pretty great. And that's honestly how the sales really started for me.
Yeah.
So I really love it.
Sounds good, yeah. Yeah, I remember you were selling it was like some kind of like shoe cleaner or something.
Dude, yeah,
Was
bro. The
that
shoe
that was
MGK,
MGK?
bro. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's for sure
MGK.
like a grind. That's basically just sales right there. And maybe you didn't understand it at the beginning, but later on, like that probably triggered a lot of stuff, later down the road and obviously where you are today.
Facts. I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
So I mean, now currently you are in the life insurance industry. I mean, where is your stance on that today? Where do you see yourself at the moment?
So yeah, I mean, officially a full year. I love it, man. I really do. It's been life changing. Meeting a lot of people, still learning to adapt to newer environments and people and stuff like that. And obviously, when you work in a business, you gotta gain trust, right? Trust is the most important thing with the people you work around. And in the start, it wasn't the easiest thing for me. Over time, best thing ever. Just learning to trust the peers, the people you work around is always like the best thing that you ever need around you.
All right, so Merrick, of course, you were in that first sales part, and starting in high school, and that transitioned you into actual 1099 sales and life insurance. So, how is that currently looking for you?
Yeah, so I mean, officially a full year in, I really love it. You know, I don't think I would trade my time or energy for anything else right now. I think this is really where I want to be. I want to scale this to as far as possible. I want to take it as far as I can and then figure out what my next step would be. You know, I'm only 21 right now, and again, I really love it. Um, a full year in, when I look back at the first year, it's like, okay, I've seen a lot of great things I did, but when I look back now, it's like I could have even done better, and starting this new second year, that's what I'm focused on, doing things a lot more better. That's what one thing I really want to do is just do everything 100% better for sure.
Yeah. So I think one thing that would be like really important would be what exactly like kind of happened when after you graduated high school. What was your mindset at and what were your plans then?
Okay. So, I mean, when I graduated high school, obviously my biggest focus at the time was just like going straight to college, right? But like you had mentioned with the shoe MGK stuff, at the time I was selling just shoe cleaners. So with the shoe cleaners, I automatically wanted to get myself also involved with more shoe related stuff. So I started investing that money I was making with the shoe cleaners into buying extra shoes to resell as well. So I started my whole reselling business, whatnot. Uh, and then yeah, so graduated high school. It was time to go to high school, and I remember like my move out day or whatever. My dad is like helping me pack my stuff, and he was just like, "Dude, like Merrick, you're not going to school for real to learn or anything. You're just going there to build your business. You're going there to just f off." That's what he said. You're going there to fuck off. And I was like, "Dude, like there's no way like that. I'm really doing this for you right now. Like, how could you possibly be thinking these things?" So fast forward the day before I moved out, I probably had about 20 pairs of shoes in my inventory. And what I did was just like hit up one of my friends who's also like a huge reseller in Illinois. And he just came by and just cashed me out on all the shoes I had just to show my dad, like, Dad, I'm actually going to school for school. I'm actually going there to learn and, get a degree and whatnot. So sold everything, took the money, and then fast forward, I go to school. So, I mean, that's kind of what happened. I go to school for a bit. Uh, I wasn't playing soccer or nothing. My biggest goal was to play soccer, so I tried out for the team or whatever. And my first month in the team or first month in the school, what happened was my grades were low key just like bad, like off rip. I like all my grades were good, but it was math. Like math was just terrible. I had a low relationship thing kind of going on for a second, and that kind of just it just was low key a distraction. It caused me to not be as focused as possible with school, but I'm not going to make that as an excuse. I just genuinely was not good with math. I was just never good with math. Even in high school, I just wasn't good at math. So, my GPA flunked. Obviously, that prevented me with any opportunities that I wanted. Even if it was to play D1, I wasn't going to be able to do that. So what happened was I talked to my dad after that first year, and I was like, Dad, you know what? I'm gonna leave this school, which at the time was Marquette. I was at Marquette, and I left Marquette after the first year. And my sophomore year, I went to University of Whitewater. So I Whitewater, super cool. I was planning on playing soccer. Everything is going great. It's preseason. Everything is going great. And what happened was I get invited to this like preseason party or whatever you want to call it. And I go to this preseason party. Mind you, we're at Whitewater, right? So it's a place that I never knew about, knew how anything works out there. So I go out there, and first off, I go to this party, and everyone's like, "Yo, Merrick, nice to meet you." Da 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 da. Like things are cool, things are great. I'm like, nice. And I had a drink or two, and then it was time for me to basically leave, because I wanted to get home. It was like maybe 10 or 11, and I was like, "Yo, I want to get an Uber. I want to go home." And my friend there at the party was like, "Brother, like there's no Ubers here." I was like, "What do you mean, brother?" So like I was like, "How do we do this?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I could take you." So what happened was we drove, and it wasn't the smartest decision either, but we drove, he drove, and we're driving back to my dorm, and I'm like 30 seconds away from my dorm, right? 30 seconds away. We get pulled over by the university police, and then we get pulled over by the city police as well of Whitewater. And for whatever reason, I think it was maybe me, my friend, and a couple other people in the back seat. And I was just telling myself, like, Merrick, lock in, Merrick, lock in, just lock in, we just trying to get this out the way. Your dorm is literally couple blocks, like literally steps away, feet away. And I'm just in the car chilling. I locked in. And then there's a guy in the back that goes, "Officer, I'm not gonna lie, we've all just been drinking." And I'm like, dude, brother, like, how are you gonna just put me on the blast here? Right? So he's like, "Officer, yeah, we all just been drinking, fuck me." So I was like, okay. So they breathalyzed us, whatever. Fast forward, basically got in trouble. It got sent to the coach, and the coach found out. So I just couldn't play that year, that fall semester that I went to school for. And that's the main reason why I left Marquette in the first place, was to go get an opportunity somewhere else to go play soccer. So that happened. That whole semester, I didn't get the chance to play. And I had this like weird vision. I started getting this weird vision of like something kind of just telling me, dude, school is not going to be for you. And at the time, I still wasn't grasping it. I wasn't figuring out, I didn't know exactly what it was. I was still trying to figure that out. And what happened was it got stronger. I'm not going to lie. The vision got super, super stronger. And at some point, I was just like, okay, like, what's this about? And what the vision was really telling me was like, bro, like, you're going to be successful any means possible, but it's not going to be school. So what I did was, I have African parents. They're not really the type of people that was like, yeah, bro, just leave school. We'll figure it out. That's not what happened. I wrote a book. I'm talking a book to my dad. It was like, dude, it was just pages on scrolls. I can literally show you guys some time, but it was like just, of my dad, me telling my dad why I need to drop out and why I think school's not going to work for me, da, 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 da. And even at the time, my focus was still soccer. I wanted to go pro in soccer. So I sent that to my dad, and all he responded was like, "Okay, I understand." And that was shocking to me because like I low-key expected him not to just be like, "Okay, I understand." But one thing he did say was, "You are gonna need a degree to be successful in America, right?" So I was like, "Okay, well, I mean, if my dad says I'm out, I'm out." So I dropped out, and that was like around 2024 winter break, 2024 winter break. So we're heading towards 2025 of last year. So then it's January, February. It was around January. I get a job. I got a job for like 3 days. I'm 3 days into this job. And what happened was I get a phone call from an old friend, right? She was working at Mercedes and she was like, dude, I just found out about this job. Super cool, high level commission, 75%, this, that, and the third, life insurance, this, that, you get paid high. And I was like, this could be the vision. Like, is this the vision? Is this what we were destined for? So the first thing she told me was like, yeah, 75% comp, right? And obviously now looking at myself, when I recruit people, a lot of times people like to procrastinate, wait, think about it, right? Take their time and see if they really want to do this. For me, it was like, brother, I just hopped on a calculator and I remember putting this math like on the calculator. It was like 35,000 because I was like trying to figure out what I could do in a month. I was like, okay, if I submitted 35 grand in a month times 0.75, and I remember the math was actually, well, actually, no, I posted for 50,000. I was like, if I submit 50,000 in a month times 0.75, and I'm not good at math, I think it was like around 3,200, 32,000, something around there.
Right, right.
Is that accurate? I don't know. You
I
guys
don't know
want to
either,
fact
bro.
check that? Fact check that real quick. I don't
All
know.
right.
Yeah, it's like 50,000 and then times 0.75, right around 35 grand. That would be your deposit take home.
37, yeah, 37.
Okay, 37. All right. You see, like I said, I'm not good at math. So I was like 37. I was like, cool. Like, bro, I'm in. I've never touched this money before. I've never seen this money before. Like, bro, I'm in. And I knew, like, I was like, bro, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make sure I hit 50K months. Like, it was like, bro, I don't care what it's going to take. I was going to make that happen. That was my focus from the jump. Like, that's what I wanted. So I was like, bro, I'm in. What do I need to do? Instantly. It took me like a week or two. We got licensed fast. I'm 3 days into this job and I emailed them. I was like, I didn't even show up the next day. I emailed them. I was like, ma'am, I got a contract to go overseas and play soccer. I can't show up. She's like, perfect, no problem. We'll take you off the schedule. And, I just basically quit just like that.
Yeah.
So I get licensed and I just started working in life insurance. First ever day in the business. I get all my contracts. Everything is already set. And then we have a Discord, right? Where obviously every single person in the agency submits their deals and everything like that. So what happened was I'm in this Discord. The first day I had it unmuted and it was like, bro, all day, just spams of people submitting 5K, 2K, one band, $900, I saw a 10K deal. I saw everything, right? And in my head, I'm like, dude, what is going on here? Like these numbers, like what's going on? Like that's the only thing in my mind. So I was a little bit distracted the first day, but I was like, what do I need to do? I got my script, right? I had my script, I had my leads, and I just stayed focused and I just dialed them all day. But I did not close my first deal on my first day. So I go home that night and I reflected a little bit on like how everything went with the sales business and everything, like the first day. And I was like, okay, tomorrow we're gonna mute this group chat. We're gonna mute this group chat so we can stay much more focused. We're gonna mute this Discord so we can stay much more focused on the main goal. So I muted it. To this day, it's still muted. But every now and then, if my team or someone in our agency submits and it's a friend of mine, I'll go on there and hype them up, right? So I muted it. And I just stayed locked in, so locked in. I closed my first ever deal that day. It was my second day in the business, right? It's like 1,000 and I don't even remember. It was 1,000 and something. It was like 1,400. And it was set to draft a week from now. I was excited, super happy. I go home. I started posting on Snapchat like we all do, first deal, whatever. People were start automatically asking me like, "What is this job? Dude? What is it that you're doing?" That was the main question I used to get a lot. It was literally, "Dude, what is it that you're doing?" I said if it was like a bad thing, I didn't know how to even respond to sometimes these messages I was getting from these people, bro. It was insane. So the next day, I closed again. This was my third day. Like what happened was I had this Uber driver, right? Like from the past. And what happened was like I basically just reached out to her and I was like, yo, like you remember how you told me about your daughter, this and that, and let's get you some life insurance. So I got my second deal my third day, and it was my fourth day in the business. From the fourth day in the business, I'm working all day. I haven't got nothing and I'm just staying true to myself, trying to stay locked in. But when I came into the office, I was like, bro, I have this feeling I'm just gonna smack some fat shit today. I'm ready to get it going. And my fourth day, I basically submitted like this 10K deal, bro. So overall, my first week in the business, I think I submitted right around like 13 or 14 grand, like ever in the business.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dog, like this is great. Thank you. And I was just like, bro, this is great. Like I love this shit. This is where I'm at. This is where I want to be. So that's pretty much what happened. But obviously, I learned my lessons as well. The following week, I had like literally zero, zero, like the whole week. So I was like, okay, is this like out of luck? Is this just like a beginner's luck? Like, what do I need to do now? And I was like, okay, we really need to learn the business. We need to learn how to actually sell. We need to learn every single thing, including the script, including just everything. And I glued into every single detail, every step. I asked the right questions. I went to my upline at the time, Kayla, and I was like, hey, Kayla, like, who's the top male producer in this business? And she was like, yeah, like, Bruno, this guy named Bruno in our office. So I went to Bruno and I asked Bruno a couple of questions, and Bruno just gave me the right answers from the jump. The couple of things he had said to me was like, just dialing that fast speed, being really, really intentional with the people you're talking to. Your focus levels are super important. Having a routine, just like soccer, right? Like just having a routine, a daily structure routine, things like that. And I ran with it. I listened to these things they would tell me, and I would write it down. Like actually listen to them and write it down. I just ran with it, and that's pretty much how it started with me in sales.
Solid, bro. Yeah, that's really good. Um, I love how you just basically had a complete, transition from focusing on soccer, then using all that energy, all that focus, and all that basically sacrifice and put it onto something completely different. It's all about like taking the risk, you know what I mean?
That's what
Um,
it is. That's what
yeah,
it is.
100%. Like you'll never really know how something well could do if you don't actually just try and begin. So, yeah, I mean, so what was the reason, like, why and what time in your life did you realize that, with, having all the success you want, everything that you basically wanted and you kind of were leaning towards to or, driving towards to, when did you realize that um entrepreneurship was the way?
So like you had said, it really did start off just at that mall. I think that was like the first time I got a glimpse of like what it feels like to run your own thing. What it feels like to actually make a commission-based job and really just be in control of like your own income and your own paycheck. And I liked it. I really did. I like the feeling of being a hustler. I like the feeling of like honestly sales. I think sales is one of the biggest things that people neglect in this world. And believe it or not, there's people that tell me every day like I can't sell. But if you can persuade someone to do something without even getting them to buy something, then you're selling them, right? You're selling them some type of way. That's sales. If I'm talking to someone right now and I'm like, yo, please do me a favor, can you go grab me pizza, which he did, right? I'm asking him to do something for me. And if he does it, that's sales. It's a communication based thing. And then it results into what you want, right? So that counts as sales. And that's kind of how I see it, bro. I think sales is one of the greatest things that anyone can do. It doesn't matter. I think once you've mastered the art of sales itself, it doesn't matter where you go. It could be life insurance, it could be door to door, preferably life insurance, but it could be really anywhere, and you're still gonna be just good because you have the concept of how to sell.
Just like how you kind of had that rougher background, that transition, you had either this worked out or it didn't. And there's one thing I always like to think is like a quote I've heard before. You can't never be hungry if you've never starved. And
Right.
for sure that I think that you're a good representation of that. So what's your thought on that basically?
I mean, yeah, I would say adversity for sure is always going to be like the biggest thing. But that does not also mean that someone that comes in with money or with success or a good background cannot also be successful or, see success pretty early in a business. It comes down to one, being coachable, being level headed, and then just being like, as focused as you can. I think those are traits that I really had. I'm coachable. I'm willing to listen, even at the level I'm at now. I'm still trying to learn a lot of things because it's like, dude, I've only been here for a year. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of other people here that's been here for longer. I know I have made connections with people that have been in the industry for about 10 years. Like these are people that I want to know. These are people that I want to start networking with to learn even more things. I think the biggest thing, yes, it is adversity. After what I went through, I had a chip on my shoulder when I came into this business. And actually, Kayla would tell that to me, like, even to this day now, she tells it to our agency, like, I could feel Merrick's energy when he started the business. And that's what it was. I had no choice. Like, even when I started, part of me wanted to make money in the life insurance space so I could still go play soccer. That was the funny thing. And then over time, I was like, dude, like, no, I gotta put my all into this. I gotta put my all into this. So I had a chip on my shoulder. It was like just win, like fucking win, figure it out, but win, right? So I just every single day just worked hard, worked hard, worked hard, and it's not anything crazy. Like, bro, I'm gonna do it with half a brain, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna do it with half a brain. I'm just focused, I'm determined, and I just don't like losing. So it's like when I come in here, I have to win. So for the most part, all of last year, almost every single day I sold a policy. Like I just had to because it's the focus behind every single thing I do. It doesn't physically make sense for me to come in the office, work, and then leave without closing a deal. So with that in my mind, it's like, bro, I gotta get the job done every single day I come in. And then yeah, going through a lot, dropping out of school, you got family members, people looking at you like you're a failure, you're not gonna make it. That's what I low key like though. Because there's a part of me that already knows I'm gonna make it, even now. Like I know for a fact I'm gonna make it once I get to that level, once I, figure out more things and do exactly what I need to do, stay locked in, stay focused, be consistent. I'm going to make it regardless. I'm not worried about that. But it's like that's what kept me going because one, I already know the success is down the street. And a lot of people use this terminology where they're like, if you knew that you only had to fail about three more times before you became the person you wanted to be and you became successful, how fast would you want to fail? I want to fail as fast as possible, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to fail as fast as I can. So every single day I'm gonna go in even harder because if I fail, at least I know I'm getting a lot closer to where I want to be.
Normally, people try to like find something like secure, like a secure job where they pay them like each bi-weekly or weekly.
Right.
So normally, like life insurance isn't usually like the first thing people jump into. So, what was like a specific moment or like a personal experience that made you like realize that this was like a service people needed?
This is a crazy one. This is a really, really crazy one. So, when I started working here at the time, it was just like, okay, protect people, right? Get people life insurance, get yourself paid. That was my focus. That was my mindset. It wasn't until around, I remember we went on a lock-in to Arizona. Before that lock-in, at Arizona, I had called this lady. It was off a Stanley Smith life insurance, mortgage protection lead badge. And she was young. I think she was in her 40s. She was pretty cool. Uh, and she had a baby. You know what I'm saying? She had a kid around less than 10 years old. And I was trying to sell her the mortgage. She had the money for it. She had the resources for it. She could afford it. But part of her just didn't want to do it today. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was me at the time as a salesperson, but she did not want to do it that day. And I was like, man, like, hey, I understand, let's just make sure you're covered, God forbid something happens, what would that look like? I'm pitching everything possible and I'm pushing this call because I push all my calls, right? I'm trying to get her to buy it today. And then fast forward, just didn't go that way. She wanted us to wait. And after pushing a couple of times, I was like, you know what? All right. You want me to give you a call a month from now? That's fine. I'll give you a call a month from now. So we go to Arizona, we get back, and it wasn't time to call her yet, but I just called her. I called her like a week or two like earlier. And I called her back like, hey, Miss Margaret, like this is Merrick. How you doing? Da 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 da. And someone else picks up the phone. Who is this? Why are you calling? Hey, this is Merrick. I was the life insurance agent that was assigned to go over the case with Margaret about the life insurance, about the mortgage protection we were talking about at the time. Miss Margaret is no longer here. I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, she passed. And dude, it was crazy. It was bad. Like I had a bunch of emotions like running through my system. I was just like freaking out, crashing out, upset, angry. Like it was all of the above, right? So what happened after that was I literally walked out of my office and I go running around to Kayla's whole office, like her agency, and I'm crashing out like, dude, this is why we gotta protect everybody. This is why we don't let people off the phone. Like, this is what it's about. Like, this is why when you're talking to someone, you really, really have to paint the picture and why they need this. Because if you don't, fast forward 2 weeks later, a month later, you call them back, and then that could happen, right? Now, she's gone, and she has a kid less than 10 years old. What's that gonna look like now for the family? And then while I'm on the phone with this cousin of hers, she's asking me, does she have life insurance? No, ma'am, I'm sorry, ma'am. She doesn't have anything, right? She doesn't have anything because when I called her, she didn't want to go through with it. She didn't want to go through with it. So like that whole emotion at the time just it hit me a lot stronger, and my why in this business became a lot bigger, a lot better. After finally seeing something like that, it just really showed me it's beyond just money. Believe it or not, there's plenty of people, even without money, they could probably set aside $50 to $100 to get a policy, and that could change their whole family's life. And it's not even about them sometimes, or even the beneficiary. It's about the beneficiary's beneficiary. It's about the beneficiary's beneficiary's beneficiaries. You know what I'm saying? This can go generations on generations, just because one person in their bloodline decided to take that risk, put that money aside on a policy. And it's not even a risk. Took that opportunity to put money aside to go get something done. And that's kind of how I see it, man. And ever since then, I don't care if someone is like, I don't want to buy it or I don't want it. I find a way to push them as hard as I can. And eventually, not all the times when you push them, it's going to go the way you want it to go. Right. And other people have other, stocks or, mutual funds and savings and, all types of stuff. So it's not every single person you're going to push the call and they're just going to want to do it. But that's what kind of happened to me.
Alright, so yeah, I mean, it's really good that your main or your big priorities, of course, helping out families, getting them protected. Another way you benefit people is actually by the people you bring in, your recruits, right?
Right.
So what's like that? What does that look like? How are your thoughts on that?
So first year, huge roller coaster with recruiting. I started honestly, it was my first month in the business. My first month ever in the business, I brought in two agents. One his name was Enzo. The other girl was like Kathy. Uh, Enzo was already pretty good with soccer, so it was really hard for him to transition or see himself trying to get into the whole space with the life insurance. And he tried. He tried his best over time. He was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go back and play my sports. And then Kathy as well. She was in esthetician school, so she just went back. Those were the first ever recruits I had. Fast forward, recruited again. I had a guy. He came in, and then he was great, right? He got his first deal, I think his first or second day. Um, and then over time, he just slowly slowed down. But one thing he was really, really good at was bringing more people in, and I was just there as the mentor to keep helping his people grow, and that eventually helped him grow, right? Because you see other people come in and they're almost kind of what I call it is spanking your butt, right? They're kind of messing you over. They're coming in now and they're showing more stats and more numbers that you haven't done yet, and that should push you. And if it doesn't, that's a problem because it's beyond just sales and selling to people. It's also like a competitive environment. That's how I like to make my agency feel like a competitive environment. If this person is not doing good, and this person's doing good, I'm gonna go to this person and say, "Damn, dog, he's spanking your butt. Like, how do you feel about that?" and I expect to see a little bit of more urgency from them, like get a little bit upset the right way, right? Like feel some type of way about it, and it should push you to go back and do more. Because that's how I am. I see things a lot as like not necessarily competition, but just a way to win, right? A way to keep things going. So when I came in, I just created that environment, trying to always like shit talk people a little bit, make them feel some type of way, so they would always want to compete. And when you compete, it's the best way. More money, you make more money, more sales. A lot of things just happen, right? So that's kind of how I saw it. And I brought in another guy. His name was Andy. When he came in, what was it? His first day in the business. I think I was late. I was like maybe 10 minutes late, something like that. I can't remember exactly. It could have been a second day, but I was a little bit late. It's probably 30 minutes. I'm exaggerating. And when I got to the office, he's like, I closed. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, dude, I closed. I was like, I looked at his portal, issued as applied or submitted, approved. And I was like, dude, like what the fuck, bro? Like, do your thing, you know? And even with him, like I automatically knew the type of person he was, like he was gonna be good in this business. So I wasn't really worried about him necessarily, but he just off the jump. I don't think I've ever seen anyone grasp the concept and grow so fast like he did. Like the guy first month in the business submitted 30K on IP reports, issued paid business. Next month he did 40. Then the month after that he did 60. I did not even do that my first 3 months. Right, my first 3 months were probably like 10K. The month after that 10K again, and then what 15. It wasn't until my fourth month was when I really started hitting the 30K IPs and depositing about $20,000. Right, so that's kind of how it went for me, and I was like, dog, like, bro, I loved it. It was great to see. And then it even created more competition for me, knowing that someone else just came in and he's smacking. I'm not gonna let you take the throne, brother. I love the competition. I'm gonna keep it going, and I loved it. I really did. So I had a couple of guys um, that came in my first year in the business. I got a couple that are still with me now, and and you never know what happens. People fall off, people stick, whatever it is. But I just keep going, right? That's the most important focus. Is just keep going, keep going, keep going, and eventually everything just falls into place.
A good point you brought up, with recruits, a lot of people fall out. It's a part of the business. People falling out all the time. And I mean, what's something some people, like to blame external factors. They'll blame some things that are going outside of the office, and they'll bring that energy into the office, and it'll kind of be like kind of like a disease. It kind of negativity starts to spread with other people. What's one thing that you push onto your downlines, onto your people, in order to have that same mindset every time, not to blame others and to
Right.
keep accountability?
Right. So I've seen it all. For me, even every now and then I make excuses. I'm getting grilled about it, to stop making excuses. So, I'm not going to act like I'm perfect or nothing. But yeah, I've seen it with other agents, not even on my team, but other agencies where they're just like dwelling a lot in the past, a lot of things in the past. How I like to tell them is it's your past is already the past. That's done, right? But when you joined this business, what was your biggest focus? Well, you want to be successful when? In the future. Okay, so with the past, you want to be successful in the future. That means you got to do everything now. Nothing else matters but now. Nothing else physically matters but now. So, what are we going to do now that's going to change one, even your past, and two, your future? We're going to put the hard work in. We're going to do the right things that we need to do. And we're going to stop thinking about the past because the past is already done. And I would always kind of say this to them when you walk into the office, the first door downstairs, I don't care what you're going through. I don't care if your sister died, which obviously is kind of messed up, but I care. But it's like, I don't care what you're going through mentally. You need to come in here and switch it all off, right? You need to just let it all go for a couple of hours, stay focused on the main thing, get yourself paid, protect a family member, look out for somebody, and then eventually do like figure out what you got going on and always handle that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like it's still a part of your life, figure it out. But the most important thing is you have to be able to block out noise. It's super important. And it's part of a mindset. It's part of sales. It's part of a sport. When you walk into that field, you have the opposition crowd shit talking you and saying all these things. It's like, are you gonna sit there and dwell and then, have a bad performance, or are you still gonna stay focused and get the job done? Well, I'm probably gonna get the job done. So we should probably not focus on the things we got going on outside the business and focus on the business itself. And I preach that every other day.
For sure. Solid. I think one thing that would be good to go over is what does it look like? What's your daily routine as a insurance broker? What does that look like?
Fire, fire. Yeah, I actually love to share this one. So, one thing I do for real, like this outfit I'm wearing right now, I already knew what I was good. I already knew I was gonna wear it the night before. Like that's my first routine in this business. There's not been a single day for a whole year that I've put an outfit on for the next day and I did not know what I was gonna wear the day before. And that's what I call preparation. I'm not gonna wake up in the morning and try to now figure things out and scramble clothes and things like that. I'm already gonna prepare myself for success. So it started that way. I know what I'm gonna wear the night before, so I have it laid out. Sometimes even with the watch on top of the clothes, right? See what it looks like, see the image of myself, and I'm like, okay, that's a great fit. We're gonna put that on today, and we're gonna sell as much insurance as possible. That's how I see it. And first off, stuff like that, and then in the morning, obviously, just shower, make my bed, pray, whatever pray, and then just honestly just get in the car and get straight to work, and then we don't start dialing until about 8 a.m. So right around 7:30, we have our team sales trainings, everything like that. But I make it so important that at 8 a.m. on the dot, that I start dialing, right? I don't wait till 8:05. I don't wait before 8 a.m. 8 a.m. on the dot at 7:59, I start dialing the phones. So that's pretty much my routine, nothing crazy. Every now and then I'll have an energy drink. Every now and then I'll switch it up to coffee. Try not to have too much of both, but it really does help my day going. And I just every now and then just have some energy drinks and coffee for sure.
Sounds good. And for sure, I think that same routine is what's building you up and has you on the track to doing big things. So, how does it look like now, numbers wise? How much are you producing? How does that look?
So, full transparency, November, December, I got a little complacent. I got complacent because I had submitted about 117 grand back in October, where I deposited the biggest month ever. And for some reason, I thought I was on top of the world, right? I let the highs get too high, and I stopped focusing on the main thing, still getting the job done, still being consistent, getting things done. And I went through a little bit of phase of chargebacks, clients canceling and whatnot, and it kind of put me down for a second. And over time, I really had to figure myself out. It's not when you're at the highest, right? It's when you're your true self. It's really when you are at the lowest. It's when you really are your true self. And I look back at it like when I came into this business, I was at my lowest, but I was my true self. I was focused on the craft. I was focused on what I needed to do to be successful. So going back through that phase again, I was like, this is happening for a reason, right? This is happening to realign my goals again, to remind me of why I came here in the first place. And when I saw that happen, I was like, great. At first it was tough. It was hard. I would clear the chargebacks and a couple would fall back in. I'm just asking myself, why is this happening? But I really locked myself in. And I just started selling again at a high level, and boom, we're starting to clear it out. And we just cleared it. That's pretty much it.
Solid, solid. So, with production, have you had like any big achievements? Are there any like things that there's Hall of Fame or there's like all these other awards you get? What have you like been able to accomplish in this 1 year alone in your first year in insurance?
Yeah. So in my first year in insurance, I submitted about 350,000. So I was like 50K short of Hall of Fame, whatever.
That's close.
I'll make sure to exceed that this year. I'll for sure do 400,000 by like May, June, no doubt. Right. My main goal and focus this year is actually to do a million, which I will, personal. And then I'll have my team still hit high numbers. We'll probably do like 10 mil Hall of Fame. That's the goal. And then, towards like the end of 2026, we'll start hitting that like 1 mil a month mark, right? So right now the biggest focus is going from 100,000 team, from 100 to 300, right? 300 to like seven, build some systems in between that, and then just from there on, scale to 1.1 and 1.2, and just keep going like that. So yeah, I mean, I got a little award, and I actually have it right here next to me. It was the for issuing 350 grand. And I deposited right around like 200,000. If you want to do the math on lead costs and everything like that, I probably issued or net around like 158 grand last year. So it was pretty nice. Now don't ask me where all the money went. You know what I'm saying? It was my first year in the business. I wasn't the most smartest with money, with my family and things like that. I wasn't really taught how to be financially literate. So, I'm learning those things now, and I started to realize that my money is not my identity. My money is just another asset and tool that I can use to either make more money or change the world. So, those kind of things are things that I'm learning as a person who's 21. I've never just touched that money before. So it was tough. It was tough, but we're on the right track. That's the most important thing.
For sure. And with, one thing we did want to kind of like get to was, objections, right? So
Mhm.
what is it, what's some of the objections in, your daily routine that you come across, and how do you overcome?
So objections in a sense of like sales,
Right, right, right.
like when I'm on the phone with the client.
Yeah.
So when I was building my team, and I'm still building my team, but when I'm building my team, the one thing I tell them is, yes, you still need to learn objections and how to respond to each and every single one of them. But objections, I see it as like a smoke screen. It's not real. It's just not real. They filled out a lead sheet because they wanted insurance in the first place. So the objections they have is because, one, they don't know who you are. They've never heard from you before. They probably have another 20 people calling them about the same thing. Who do they trust? If you can start off that first 10 seconds on a call, right? To be as professional as you physically can, right? Like I'm talking to be as locked in as possible, to sound as professional as you can. There's no objections there. And a lot of times I close my deals and I don't get too much objections in the intro. It usually comes like later on. And even then, it's like I've structured my call so good that everything is just like properly just handled. When the objection comes, I'll acknowledge it, I'll respond to it, then I'll go around it. It's pretty much how I do it. But I don't get objections as much. I stay really just professional. And I think when they hear my tone and how I'm pitching my products and how I'm talking to them as a client, how I'm building the value with the client and sending my business card and all these things, they don't really have objections as much. Like they see me as someone who's actually on the phone with them, here to help them out. And a lot of times they actually ask me a lot more questions than me spending a lot more time talking to them. So I don't get objections as much.
One thing that, we learned a lot in the sales industry is that you don't overcome objections, you prevent them from ever happening.
Prevent them from happening. Correct. Yeah.
Exactly. So 100%, I 100% agree with you on that.
A lot of people, like for me, example, did find like the insurance industry kind of intimidating, just because I feel like I didn't fit the profile of like being able to do that. But how are like you using your background and make these conversations more accessible to like make it real for your clients?
I mean, when it comes to me, obviously going back into soccer, I was the captain of most teams I played with. I had that leadership role. And being a leader meant honestly one thing, right? You're leading from the front, you're giving out information to these people, and it has to be valuable and it has to be informative. But you also have to have that part of you where they have to like you in a sense as well, right? Where I crack jokes every now and then. I have fun with them. We goof off in the locker room and we do all these extra stuff. I translated that into sales. So like I said in the start of a call, I need to be as professional as possible. I need to be as logged in as possible. I need to get the job done while I'm actually calling. I don't need to call a client and when they say I'm not interested, or I'm just starting, to yap about things that don't matter to them. That's not what the purpose of this is. I'm gonna stay focused on the call itself about why I'm calling for sales or for to get them life insurance, and then later on I'll start building the right value. Like were you born and raised in Illinois, that kind of thing. Get to know them a little bit. That there's a certain time and place for that. So then that personality traits and me trying to get to know them a little bit more will come out just naturally. And then we'll have a little bit more of a talk, and then cut them off a little bit, and then get right back into it again. And that's how I build the proper value with it. So with how I play soccer, I just translated that into here, the charisma, the jokes, the laughter. But there's a certain time and place for it. And then the part where I have to be serious, get the job done, it's like, okay, now we got to be professional again, right? Same thing with being on the field. When you're on the field, you're focused, you're locked in, you're not goofing off. You're in the locker room, either pregame or after pregame, you guys won a game, or, you guys are trying to enlighten the mood a little bit. And then you start goofing off. You're in there throwing your shirts around and dancing. So I kind of use that same strategy with the sales as well.
When writing business, how do you determine it's like writing good business with one client?
Going into my second year, there's a lot of things, like you said, I'm going to fix as a person. I think we can agree I was pretty good with sales itself last year, but a couple of things I wasn't good at was, one, retention, right? Persistency, things like that. I was just trying to sell everyone, whether they even could afford it or could not. They couldn't. It's like, bro, we're gonna get you this policy, and over time it'll charge back, right? So going into the second year now, I'm not just trying to just sell it to really everyone. but I'm trying to get the right people. Not only that, I'm also focused on follow-ups, multiple follow-ups and retention kind of stuff. So I'll close a client, good news, bad news, you're approved, da 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 da. I'll send them the information of the policy packet, the rundown, the monthly premium, how much it was, the policy number, all of the information they need to know. And I'll also let them know in that call, I will be following up with you a day or two before your draft date. I think it goes a long way because now they know money is being taken out of their account and they're not checking their bank accounts later, being confused and calling the bank and then just telling them to stop a payment, right? So things like that. Uh, and then after that, I'll also let them know I'll reach out again a week or two later to check if you got the policy packets. I notice people lie on the phones all the time about like, you know, how long it's gonna take for the policy package to get there. It's like, bro, just be transparent. Let them know it actually takes about 7 to 10 days, sometimes even longer than that. You know, and then it's like, yeah, I'll follow up with you. Let me know once you've got your policy packets. If you like, we can even review it together. And I think it builds a lot more value because at the end of the day, with these old people or with the old people, the elderly people, I'd say, they're just a little bit more. They do things the old school way. They need a little bit more assistance. They like help and they like someone that's accommodative. So if you're that type of person, you're able to do all these follow ups and check up on them. They feel a lot more appreciated rather than you just trying to get a one time close and then you get off the phone and then they probably never hear from you again. And that's why a lot of times my deals were falling off the books was because I wasn't doing that before. I was just so focused on sell, 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 sell. I wasn't really trying to get people to keep their policies. Is more like, okay, let me just get them their policy and then get paid, right? So over time, I was like, okay, these are things that we need to fix. This is how I'm going to build a long lasting book of business. This is how I'm actually going to take my business to the next level. If I do these things, it's going to cause me, one, to be more profitable. The more business I submit and less chargebacks I get, that means my persistency goes up. And when my persistency goes up, I get paid more. So when I see those things, I'm like, okay, that's something I can do. Stop being lazy, stop being mediocre, go ahead and do these extra things. You've already done the hard work to close the deal. I already done that. It's like, bro, just do the extra small things that's just gonna solidify the deal. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. So I think we're kind of gonna get at towards the end of our podcast today. Um, I want to hear one thing, one last thing that you think that our audience, people watching, people that are looking at your Instagram, looking forward to what keeping up with what you're doing. What some advice that you would give them that you've learned along the way, along your journey.
Dude, take the risk, bro. Take the risk. I promise you, I get up to maybe 200 messages every month about someone trying to join the business, and I'll probably just get one or two recruits at the end of the month. The one thing I would say is to actually take the risk because you will never know physically, what would actually happen or what your outcome could look like if you don't take the risk. I took the risk and I went on with it. I ran with it. And there's a reason why I'm seeing the success I am because it's like at the end of the day, I was trying to make things happen. Besides that, not having multiple ideas of things you want to do in life. I think just always narrowing things down to one thing is always the best way to really go on about things. If you're really focused on one thing, you're putting more time, energy, and effort into it. I'll see people in this business that are like, yeah, I want to do this, then I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. It's like, cool. We all want to do those things, but we have to stay focused on one thing first, become so good at the craft, become successful with it, and then use that tool to go do the next thing. Right? It's like having four cups and then you have water. If you pour it in one cup, the whole cup will be full. But if you separate them, then you're almost kind of like putting a little bit in each cup, and that's just limiting your options, right? So you rather fill up one cup first before you go fill up the next one. That's how I would say it.
I really appreciate you, Merrick. I really respect the hell out of you. You've done crazy. You come a long way, for sure. Especially coming from being in the same high school and then now where you are today.
Hell yeah,
Respect the
hell
hell
yeah.
out of you. So we for sure need to connect, do maybe something in person.
Well,
For
we
sure
got to,
sometime.
bro. I might go visit high school again because I mean I'll reach out to a couple of old teachers, whatnot. I want to go do like a little presentation, talk about what life has been within the last couple of years. Really, there's probably a lot of people who don't know genuinely what they want to do after high school, and they might be thinking
Right.
about college, but maybe it's really just their parents behind it trying to force them to go, and it's not a bad thing. But deep down, you have to live life for you. Don't live life for anyone else. This is your life. This is your opportunity. This is your dream. Go actually chase something that you think you'd be successful in, not what other people think you'd be successful in, right? Trust your gut, trust your intuition. and just go with it, man. Do whatever you think you can do, and just you'll do it. You know.
No doubt, no doubt. So where can everyone be find you? What's your Instagram? What's your socials?
Yeah. So I mean, the main platform is Instagram for sure. That's Merric Brands, Brands. Merric is Merric without the K, of course. And yeah, you guys can find me on there for sure.
Sounds good. Yeah. So everyone go check out Merrick. Make sure you comment on all his shit. We're gonna definitely have bigger things coming on. But yeah, Brian, you got any
Yes,
last
sir.
words?
Man, I can't wait to be on here multiple times, man. Just going on with the timeline, especially for this year. Maybe 6 months from now, we'll talk again. See what things look like from really, what is this, February to around like May, June. And let's see if I hit that 400K. Because I
Yeah.
mean, this is crazy. It took me a year to do this. My first year in the business, it would be insane to do that in 6 months and then do another 400K 6 months after. I think that would be a huge accomplishment. That'll show a lot of growth, a lot of success, and then obviously just focusing on my team this year as well is going to be even crazier, way crazier.
100%.
Oh, yeah, definitely. No, but it was good catching up with you, Merrick. And
Yes, sir.
honestly, I've been following you since high school, man. So like I've been seeing your progress. You were in college, soccer, practicing, grinding, discipline. That's one main thing I saw from you. But it's good. It's good from where you are right now. It's
Yeah, let's reconnect. Let's reconnect after.
Let's do it, man. Let's
Ev-
go play some soccer too, man.
Let's do
I've
it.
really been meaning to play. I'm still good with soccer. I love soccer. So,
Yeah,
when I get the chance, I definitely we can link up, get a couple touches or something for sure, for sure.
for
yeah,
sure.
that'll be
So
great.
this is gonna be the end
Yes,
of the
sir.
podcast. Everyone go check out Merrick. And see you to the next one.